Comparison is the thief of all joy, and especially if your high school baseball player is constantly comparing himself to other teammates on his high school team or travel ball team, that could be silently killing his dreams and goals in the game of baseball. And before we get started in today's video, my name is Evan Mendoza, and I played 7 years of professional baseball between the St. Louis Cardinals and the San Diego Padres, and I've actually played in a World Baseball Classic, and we've helped over 200 high school baseball players in the Mendoza Baseball Academy. And in today's video, what I'm going to be really talking about is how that comparison can really ruin some careers, especially when we're talking about high school teenagers who their minds aren't fully developed, and we want to make sure that we're installing the correct fundamentals for all of my students, and then also all of the high school baseball players that are out there. So step number one of the common mistakes that are typically happening are comparing your sons basically at different stages in their journey. So like maybe your son's comparing himself to a player, even though your son is a freshman, he's comparing himself to seniors, right? Obviously different stages, we don't want to do that because that could really demoralize ourselves, that we're not where we want to be. And of course that is an okay mindset to want more, but these are things that are important in the whole process to make sure that we're not deflating that confidence. And confidence is a huge part about baseball, and I think we already know that. So like if, especially from the family's perspective, if you're comparing those those metrics with where your son's currently at to maybe those seniors or maybe those college players, it can feel so distant, it can feel so far, and we definitely want to be careful of that. And with the reality of like how development can happen, guys, all it takes is like 3 months to turn into an absolute beast. I don't say that to brag or anything like that, because I will say, as far as a personal story, I went from 82 to 88 miles an hour off the mound as a pitcher in 3 months because of how I worked for a 3-month period of time. Very, very focused, very, very dedicated. And those things can happen for your son as well if he has the mindset to keep climbing and keep chasing more and more. So if you're not building that confidence by basically measuring against your someone else's finish line, that's not going to be the way to create that progress report for your son. It's just going to really demotivate him more than anything. The next one is really chasing others' path rather than creating your own, right? So I really want to emphasize that word create, right? Because if we're talking about creating our own path could be as a two-way player in college. That's basically my route at NC State University. Now, if I was to chase someone else's path, that would going to be, I'm going to be a PO and just pitch at the college level. That wouldn't have worked out for me because my freshman year I did not perform well, and sophomore year I actually converted into a third baseman. So I wanted to create that own path for myself in high school, and that's when I ran my first ever 60. It was a 9.5 second 60, and I told myself I need to get that down to stay athletic, to be considered to be able to play infield in college, and that's where I was able to get it down to a 7.4. Guys, that is not a good 60-yard dash for a middle infielder, but it kept me in the conversation. And ultimately what I did was create that path for myself rather than trying to build a path based off of someone else's. Now, the last one, I think this is important for anyone watching this video. Your highlight video or your son's highlight video or maybe a competitor's highlight video, that doesn't equate to production when it really matters, when the lights are on, when it's game time. So don't get those two confused. If you get it done like in the cages, right? If you get after it in the cages and you're able to hit 109 EV, cool, that's off of front flip, that's off of machine BP, but can we do it in the game? That's what's ultimately going to get evaluated, especially from these college coaches. So we don't want to ever lose sight of that because if your son ever starts doubting himself because he sees this, but he's actually really good in the game, he's able to produce, and that productivity is going to be what college coaches will always look for, because at the end of the day, nothing matters more than how you actually produce each and every day out there on the field. So if you guys are interested in learning a little bit more about who I am and what my program is, it's the Triple Play program. We help players with the physical development, the mental development, and the recruiting guidance. You can learn a little bit more about it down below in the description. It is 100% remote. We help high school baseball players play in college. That's the emphasis of it. And obviously I want to make sure that the younger generation has resources that I've lived through and also I understand will help them excel and grow within the game.